Good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone's trying to again. Good morning. Good morning. So I'm Nicole Morgan. I want to apologize for being tardy for the party. I teach 5th grade at a local elementary school on about 82nd and Halsey. And what I discovered this morning is I frantically texted Ellen and Dawn. I was like, I'm stuck behind an accident on I-84. No, it's just regular Monday and Tuesday traffic. And I'm a teacher, and we're in school way before traffic starts, and I happen to live, work, play, and pray in my zip code. I'm pretty privileged that way. And I haven't had to deal with traffic in forever. So I was like drumming my fingers on the dashboard, on the steering wheel. I didn't have my bed near, so I could go. Right? I wasn't at a place where I, could cuss, and I did. For those of you who are from here, know that if you are ever behind a Subaru, that it is a certain kind of. Any of you drive Subaru? You. Pretty angry at you this morning. Subaru drivers of the world with the ski rack at the top. It's pretty frustrating. But what that allowed me to do was have some Notorious B.I.G. came on. I got myself in a zone. And this guy, no lie, this guy that I was behind, I guess for a while, I pulled over to, gently skirt by him. And he gave me a thumbs up, like whatever you were rocking to, it is happening. And so I really needed that moment today, because today has been a really rough day for me. But I'm happy to be in this space. And I was kind of glad for those life lessons. When life kind of comes at you and it's a little difficult, we either have this opportunity to really yield ourselves to that process and say, what is it in this moment that I'm supposed to be learning or feeling or experiencing? Or you can just cut somebody out and reflect on that later. Do a handstand perhaps, or find some sleep, or punching bag, I heard someone say. I chose to, in that moment, say, so this is where I am, this is what it is, and regardless of how I would have wanted to start my morning, or regardless of how I would have loved to start this space, that didn't happen today. So I can either let it affect the whole part the rest of my day, or I can kind of Notorious B.I.G. it, get rid of it, could zone out, put my sunglasses on, and enjoy whatever I'm going to walk into, right? So that means I'm going to kind of shift a little bit. So normally when I stand before folks and I talk, I typically talk from the lens of sustainability. And those of you who are Portland natives, or those of you who are familiar with Oregon, know that sustainability is a big buzzword that is huge here, and we are proud of it. It is something that we wear as a badge of honor. My discussions around sustainability typically happen between the intersectionality of race and sustainability, and why I don't see anyone that looks like me, talks like me, acts like me in a movement that impacts me and where I live, where I work, where I pray, where I play, right? So part of my discussions, I put like I started a nonprofit, actually housed or formed, kind of incubated here at PSU with some friends of mine. We took a race and sustainability class here, and from there we moved on and started this nonprofit that we're absolutely not doing nothing with. But it's really cool to say, oh, I co-founded the nonprofit. And we have a snazzy website, which is not snazzy at all. We've done absolutely nothing with it. But what I love about it is that I found this kind of niche, this kind of space inside sustainability where I've kind of found a voice, and I've become kind of this pseudo ninja that, right, goes into all these meetings where I'm pretty much the only person of color, specifically the only black woman in that space, and I find all of these words like organic and bioswales and permaculture, whatever, and I go back to my neighborhood and I decode that and say, we've been doing that, it's just now called this. Or we've been saying that, and now it's just called this, right? So this is a very different space for me, or a different capacity. So I kind of changed my presentation from a sustainability for all into talking about sustainability for self, right? If sustainability is a person's capacity to continue, which is what I define it as, it literally means that my capacity to continue is going to be different than your own. So Ellen so generously did this kind of preface or talk about, and I walked in kind of mid, just about like how we recenter ourselves, or how we go up against these structures and infrastructures and structures that aren't really meant for us, right? That aren't built for us, where we don't really see ourselves, right? How do we do that? How do we continue to have this self-care to continue getting up, showing up, and being present in the spaces that we're in, when the spaces that we're in aren't necessarily inclusive of us or for us, right? How do we continue to do that work? So I love that she made it really personal, where we kind of have some kind of go-to points where you can journal, you can jog, you can nap, we teachers call drinking hiking. So if you ever hear a teacher say, you want to go hiking, they really don't mean hiking. No, that's a code for do you want to go grab a beer? Because you can't say that in front of 9 and 11-year-olds. So hiking, right? Whatever it is that we do to ready ourselves or right ourselves before we move into these spaces where we're kind of at war, right? I kind of want to deal with it from a different lens. So the me, myself, and the I is not just this kind of selfish space, but I want to make sure that we are aware of not only how we show up in spaces, but how we are perceived when we show up in spaces. How many of you have ever heard of the Dahar Window? Okay, a few of you. So for those of you in the room who've not, and I'm going to slide through, isn't that a cool, snazzy presentation? That's pretty good, huh? So one of my favorite quotes is, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." That's a Marcel Proust quote. It's one of my favorite. And I think, you know, as far as like where I am in my life and even that drive-in this morning, the real voyage of my self-discovery consists not in things being perfect, not in all my I's being dotted and all my T's being crossed, but in not seeking these new landscapes and wanting to go far and do things, but it's in having new eyes to see the things that I'm around and in and engaged in all the time, every day. And if I see those things with new eyes and I have new experiences, new perceptions, new relations, so on and so forth, right? So I really love that quote, and I just kind of thought it was befitting. So this is the Dahar Window concept. And it was, I think, developed in like the 1950s by like 2 psychologists who wanted, Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham, who wanted to kind of develop a model or a tool to help people recognize where they are and how they show up in spaces, but also how people perceive you in those spaces. So for instance, there are 4 quadrants that you see, right? There's an open quadrant, there's a blind, a hidden, and an unknown. There are things that I know about me that you don't know about me, right? I should share some of those, but I'm not, because we're not that cool yet. And then there are things that I know about you that you don't know. Like, you have a booger in your nose. No, you really don't. But if you did, I would be the first to tell you about it. Okay? I'm that cool friend who will not let you walk around with a bat in the cave. So, it's this self-awareness concept, right? Intentionally to kind of gauge how we see ourselves. And it's really cool that we walk into space and we recognize I got a center, I gotta find this moment to not punch people but punch bags, to sleep, to hike, right? I know that. But what if we were responsible for the way we see others? What if I challenged you not only to do that work that you have to do by yourself, that work of centering yourself, that work of finding your chi, your balance, your work-life balance, whatever it is that you need to do in order to be right in the spaces that you show up in. But what if I gave you permission or a challenge to say, I'm going to give someone a pass that doesn't show up well in spaces. And I'm going to say that I'm going to perceive certain things about you. Like, all of you are making certain perceptions about me. I hope those perceptions are that I'm cute. Like, I hope that's one of the perceptions that you have, right? But it could not be. My challenge to you is that whatever you're perceiving to be about me, that you could be wrong. I presume that some of you, by the wedding band that I'm wearing, are assuming or perceiving that I'm married, but I'm not. I'm engaged. You might presume that I am a heterosexual woman. Maybe I'm not. So my challenge to you is that how we show up in space, you are perceiving things about me every day, and I am perceiving things about you. Somebody in here is falling asleep 2 minutes ago. I'm not going to call him out, but he knows who he is. Right? I'm perceiving something about that. Either I'm hella boring or he's mad tired. I'm gonna say he's mad tired. That's it. Right? So let me go through these quadrants really, really quickly. Okay, so let me go through these quadrants really quickly. So when you first meet someone, I would beg to differ, or I would beg to challenge that the open quadrant is small, and I'm going to explain in a minute, and the hidden and unknown quadrants are large, because there's a lot that you don't know about that person. But as you begin to develop relationships, as you begin to engage in conversation and self-discovery and other discovery, you move or function, you find yourself moving throughout these quadrants. You have a quadrant with everybody that you're in contact with. Every person that you meet, whether it's somebody that's a friend, a foe, somebody at the mall, someone at the store, someone at the gym that you see regularly, someone that you just met, me, we're in a quadrant together right now. And my challenge or my hope would be that as we begin to discuss or as we begin to get to know one another, you would find out more about me and I'd find out more about you, and our open quadrant would get larger and the hidden would get smaller, right? So the open quadrant, the first quadrant is the open quadrant. And this is the quadrant that represents the things that you know about yourself and others know it too. So the fact that you're wearing a shirt, thank you all for doing that today. Right? The fact that you have your height, your race or ethnicity, right? Even if that is not your perceived or your chosen identity, you recognize that I recognize that when I walk into this space, you're going to perceive or see me as an African American woman. I could be Cubano, I could be from Colombia, I could be from anywhere, but I know that based on my features, how I show up, this is what you're going to think about me. I know that because that's in my open quadrant. I know that because that's how I'm constantly treated, and you have that too. You know right now in your mind when you show up in spaces where people are going to automatically assume about you. So for instance, the other day I was thinking about going to Nordstrom and I was going to buy that. But my girlfriends were like, well, let's just go, we just come from a run. And I was running, contrary to popular belief, I was jogging lightly. And this was not a hike, this was an actual exercise moment. And I said to her, this is my white friend, I said to her, I gotta go home and change. She was like, why? We just going to the mall. I was like, because I just need to go home and change. And I couldn't explain to her why, but in my own space, I knew I couldn't show up in that space like that. I've got a sister here who's not in her head because she maybe identified. But there are certain spaces that we just can show up looking a hot mess. Not if I want to be taken seriously, right? So I knew I needed to go home and I needed to look like I belonged wherever I was going. There are some of us in this room who don't even have that worry at all, right? Or maybe you do. But my open quadrant is that I am fully aware of how I show up in space and how I'm going to be received or perceived in that space, okay? The things that are readily identifiable about me and readily identifiable about you. The second quadrant, these are things that are known to others, but not known to self. So that is what we call a blind area or a blind spot. So I have this friend. She's got a major blind spot. Girl is bossy as I don't know what. I don't know how she has a relationship. I don't know. But I can't. Talking to her is like pulling teeth. I'm like, what is it that you do not know? Have you had that friend that just knows absolutely everything and you just like, I'm not even gonna argue? Because you know you can't get a word in edgewise. And you know she or he knows absolutely everything there is to know about anything. So it's like, why even engage? Why even try? I guarantee you this friend has no idea that she is that way. And when I've attempted to engage in that conversation with her, it's not no, they were wrong. And no. I'm like, she's not even ready to hear it. She has no idea. It's in her blind quadrant. I could have spinach in my teeth or something in my hair. I could be somebody that constantly interrupts you when you talk. I could have a nervous twitch or attack, right? My shirt could be on backwards or inside out. How many of us hate that moment? My pants could be unzipped, right? My flag could be open. My feet could be ashy, whatever. There are things that I don't know about myself, and there are things that you don't know about yourself right now in the relationship that you're in. You don't know about you. You show up in these spaces and you do these things, and you're unaware of them. That's what we call is your blind spot, okay? This would include stress, constantly interrupting people when they talk, if you're extremely rude or bossy, if you're a know-it-all. And these issues could really be deep inadequacies or insecurities or incompetencies, unworthiness, which is kind of often, it affects who you are and how you show up in space, but you're unaware of it, okay? And the more you engage in relationships, the more people can be real and honest with you, the more they can say, you do know you do that, right? And you're like, well, I had no idea. You either change it or you walk in confidence and keep doing it. The third quadrant is your hidden quadrant. Okay, so this is the quadrant that represents things that I know about myself that others have no clue about me. The hidden quadrant are things that you know about you that no one else in this room or no one else in your relationships would know unless you told them. And once you tell them, then it moves into an open quadrant. So like, I am definitely afraid of spiders. I will wreck everybody in this room to get away from this 8-legged thing. I don't know why. It's my fear, right? Or like the fact that, well, Dawn and Ellen know this, but I'm dealing with major grief today. Today's my brother's birthday, and he passed away a year ago, and it was really rough getting up this morning. So whatever you might be perceiving as confidence or poise or really cool jumper, whatever it is, it is masking a deeper issue that's happening on the inside. Like, I can't wait to get from here and get to his gravesite so I can talk to him, right? And me being in space is me holding it together. So sometimes I might be really short. Sometimes this infectious personality that I have can be really, really kind of choked or tight because I'm dealing with grief. It's a hidden thing. You can't readily see that about me. And we learn to deal with grief and trauma well. We walk around with it well, right? It becomes this comfortable friend that we walk around with. We make room with in our bag, or we make room for it, okay? So it's the things that you know about you, your fears, your hang-ups, your dreams, your goals, your experiences, your narratives, things that are hidden from the people who don't know you, okay? And the last quadrant, or the fourth and final quadrant, is the unknown area. The unknown area, this quadrant, is the things that represent the things that are unknown to you and the things that are unknown to me or unknown to the people around you, okay? Counseling really helps in this area. And in many of our cultures, counseling is not something we do or get. But as you begin on this road of self-discovery, there are things that you are unknown or unaware of. And as you are unknown or unaware and become aware of those things, they then move into either the hidden quadrant, or they move into your blind spot because you refuse to acknowledge them and they become this hindrance to who you are when you show up in spaces. Or they move into this open quadrant where you begin to readily share, like I just shared, oh, she's dealing with grief. Maybe that means you have more sympathy for me now, or maybe you want to come up and tell me about grief that you're dealing with. Whatever it is, it changed your perception of me in this space. Unless you're like rock hard people, it should. Right? So we can stay in the unknown for a lifetime. And we know some really rigid people who stay there. So as we are in this space, like you're all on a journey of data and research and synthesizing and truncating and making sense of interpreting. And as we interpret data, I just challenge you to interpret the data that you're reading about each other and about the people that are walking around you outside in the world. And know that you're going to make those interpretations, you're going to make those perceptions. My challenge is you could be wrong. That whatever you're reading in someone's open quadrant, that you might need to have a dialogue. And that as you have that dialogue, what you thought to be true about them could be false. Could be 100% right. But we've got to begin as a people, as a society, as a culture, especially in academia, to challenge what we think we know to be true about people before they even open their mouths. We're dealing with a really hot topic. There's a lot of trauma happening, right, in the community now, right? There's a lot going on, and we are learning not to talk about it in these spaces, but they walk in these spaces with us. So like right now, I'm thinking of the Charleston 9. And I was having a conversation with Dr. Matthews, who's in the back, who you'll hear from later on the panel, and I was telling her, man, like I thought the one place that I'd be safe was like church. And she said to me, I don't know how you thought that. They've been killing black people in churches for a long time. I was like, well, yeah, she's right. So much goes for that, right? So for me, where I am in this space is a completely different mindset, completely different space. And what you could be perceiving about me and what I could be perceiving about you, you could be 100% right, I could be 100% right, but you could be wrong. And as you move into this research, this data, this field where you're going to uncover and discover and define and make sense of and change the world, you've got to have diverse perspectives, because a diverse movement is a resilient one. Diverse worlds are resilient worlds. And not just diverse in our color and our complexions, our sizes, our heights, but diverse in our perceptions of each other. Recognizing that I'm going to be biased, I'm going to have this judgment of you. I am. I'm raised in westernized culture. I'm going to have a thought about who you are. You're going to have a thought about who I am. But what if you were wrong? What if I were wrong? And what if we took the time that when we were also doing this self-discovery, this being healthy in the spaces that we show up in, what if I also gave you a pass to be healthy in the spaces that you show up in? And we engage in these 4 quadrants, and we get to know each other. It doesn't mean that you gotta go skipping off into the sunset, but it does mean that when you're at the mall and you see that person that you read to be a specific way, read that. Okay, you read it, it's great. Challenge yourself in your mind to say, I could be wrong. What could I be wrong about? That is the work. That is the hard work. That is the everyday work of being an ally, of being in a movement. That's the work of being a human being, is recognizing that the social constructs that we put on people, we could be completely 100% wrong. That is the Dahar Window. Recognizing that how I walk in these spaces, as we get to know each other and as we converse, that we're moving throughout these quadrants. And that I give you the benefit of the doubt that what I've perceived about each each and every one of you in this room, even the person who's still asleep. That I could be wrong. I think that was the time that I had for you today. It was supposed to be really much longer and we were going to do some good work, but I feel like what we were able to do today was meant to be what it was meant to be, and I'm okay with that. So I want to thank you for your time, thank you for having me, and thanks for Ellen for the impromptu, and Teachers Rock. Yeah, oh yeah.
Do we have any questions for Nicole? I know we're running just a little behind, but I definitely want to make some space for just very brief space for any questions or comments that people have. Yeah, Sean?
Can you briefly again go over the unknown box?
Yeah.
I'm still a little confused on that.
So.
Like I get it's not known to others than myself, but how is it?
So that's a great question. Let's say you get to see more of my cool. Nice, look at that one. And then there's another one. It flips the other way.
But it's good.
And you see the grass at the bottom? I added that. Okay, so I'll just read this. The information which we are unaware to which is unaware to ourselves as well as others. This includes the information, feelings, capabilities, talents. This can be due to traumatic past experiences or events which can be unknown for a lifetime. The person will be unaware until he or she discovers his or her hidden qualities and capabilities or through observation of others. Open communication is also an effective way to decrease the unknown area and thus to communicate effectively. So for example, we have no idea what it's called the unknown because I have no idea what the future is. That's an unknown. I don't know if you'll get through your program. You are, I'm sure you're gonna get through your program. But you have no idea, or there's an unknown that we'll ever see each other again, right? It's an unknown that I might become president of the United States. I might be FLOTUS or POTUS one day, right? I might leave this space and God forbid I might get in a car accident, right? There's just these unknown spaces. There are this unknown that I don't know anything about it and you don't know anything about it. But as we move in self-discovery, we have to be okay with the unknown. You're gonna hear a little later, I think this week, about courageous conversations. And one of the components of courageous conversations is this idea of non-closure. This okay with the fact that we're not gonna put a period at the end of the sentence. That is life. There has to be elements of an unknown. It was unknown 5 years ago that you might be right here. Maybe if your map, you have a, what is that thing called, perfect planner, and you have it all mapped out with a little Venn diagram and little bullets everywhere. Maybe you did know. But for some of you, you're like, wow, you're looking around like, wow, I never thought I'd be here. First generation college kid, I never thought I'd be in this major. I want to do theatrics maybe. You never thought you'd be here. That was an unknown until whatever came into view put you in this space, and now there's another unknown. What you will do after these moments. Many of you think, I'll go out and get coffee, or I'll go out and do whatever, but that could change. There has to be this unknown. There has to be things about ourselves that we don't know, and things that you don't know about me. That's the true, like I go back to the Marcel Proust quote, that's the true the journey of self-discovery. It's that idea of not just seeking these new landscapes, but in having new eyes on the things that I'm already seeing. So as we move throughout these quadrants, there has to be things that are unknown because we don't know it all. We don't know if the gods we believe in exist or if the world really is. We don't know. We haven't done all of these things. So we have to know that there has to be like this, this question mark at the end. Does that kind of make sense? Just as we move through these quadrants, that there's just this underlying gray area that's kind of fuzzy, and when it becomes in a focus, you move it into one of those quadrants. Or you could just be oblivious of it your whole life.
Let's take one more short question. I'm sorry, I feel like we could have these conversations forever.
Right.
But just in the interest, we have our next wonderful speaker here and making sure we have time for Dr. Wallach. One more burning question. Oh.
When I was your age, the research talents and the things that I turned out to be really good at in the area of research and the things that it turned out that I didn't enjoy very much, completely different from what I expected they would be when I was in your position.
I think that's probably very common among men.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the exact same thing.
And I appreciate the your age part because it's a great read.
Yeah.
I'm 21. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
You're
for
so
sharing
welcome.
just both your wisdom and also your personal experience with us today.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Mom.
thank you.